Let's talk about GDP and economic growth, two things that shape the way we live, work, and spend money. You might not think about it often, but every time you buy something, start a new job, or even hear about rising prices, it's all connected to how strong or weak the economy is. And the key measure of that? GDP, Gross Domestic Product. Now, what exactly is GDP? Think of it as a country's scoreboard. It measures the total value of everything produced within a nation in a year. If GDP is rising, it means businesses are growing, jobs are being created, and people generally have more money to spend. But if GDP shrinks, that's when economies start facing problems. Unemployment rises, wages freeze, and businesses struggle to expand. It's like a giant economic heartbeat. When it's strong and steady, life feels stable. When it slows down, everything starts to feel uncertain. So what actually drives economic growth? A big part of it is investment. When businesses expand, buy new equipment, or develop new technology, they create jobs and increase productivity. Another key driver is consumer spending. When people feel financially secure, they buy more products, travel, and invest in their future. Governments also play a role by spending on infrastructure, education, and healthcare, all of which contribute to long-term growth. Trade is another important factor. Countries that export more than they import tend to see faster GDP growth because they're earning more from global markets. But growth isn't just about numbers. It's about how well people's lives are improving. Let's connect this to real-world examples. Take China, for example. Over the last few decades, China has transformed from a low-income country into the world's second-largest economy. A major reason for this was its focus on manufacturing and exports. By producing goods at competitive prices and exporting them globally, China's GDP skyrocketed. The Chinese government also invested heavily in infrastructure. New roads, railways, and cities were built to support growth. But here's the catch. As China's economy matured, growth started slowing down. Now it's shifting towards technology, innovation, and domestic consumption to sustain long-term expansion. Now look at India, another fast-growing economy, but with a different approach. Instead of manufacturing, India has become a global hub for technology and services. Companies worldwide rely on India for IT support, software development, and customer service. With a young population and an increasing digital economy, India's GDP growth has been driven by technology and innovation rather than factories and exports. However, India still faces challenges like income inequality and infrastructure gaps that could slow down its growth if not addressed. And then there's the United States, which has historically been one of the most powerful economies. The U.S. economy is unique because it thrives on consumer spending. People in the U.S. buy more goods and services than any other country, making up about 70% of the economy. It also leads in innovation, with companies like Apple, Tesla, and Google continuously pushing new technologies that drive economic growth. But challenges like inflation, trade deficits, and economic inequality can slow down growth, which is why GDP can fluctuate over time. Different economic theories try to explain why GDP rises and falls. One important idea comes from John Maynard Keynes, who argued that during economic downturns, governments should step in and spend more to boost growth. This was seen during the COVID-19 pandemic when governments worldwide introduced stimulus packages, sending money to people, supporting businesses, and funding major projects to keep the economy running. But not all growth is the same. Sometimes, too much growth too quickly can cause problems, like inflation, where prices rise faster than wages, making everyday life more expensive. This is what we've seen recently in many countries, where central banks had to increase interest rates to slow down inflation without causing a recession. So, if GDP is such a key measure of economic health, does that mean a country with high GDP is always doing well? Not necessarily. GDP only measures the total size of the economy. It doesn't tell us how wealth is distributed or whether people's lives are actually improving. That's why economists also look at indicators like per capita income, employment rates, and quality of life to get a fuller picture. A country could have a booming economy, but if most of the wealth is concentrated in the hands of a few, it might not actually feel like growth for everyone. And that brings us back to why understanding GDP and economic growth matters. It's not just about numbers. It's about how economies function, how policies affect people's lives, and how we can predict what might happen next. The next time you hear about GDP growth or an economic downturn, you'll know exactly what's going on and why it matters. If you want to dive deeper into how economies function, check out books like The Price of Inequality by Joseph Stiglitz or The Return of Depression Economics by Paul Krugman. Both are great reads that make economics easy to understand. Whether you're an investor, a business owner, or just someone trying to make sense of the world, understanding these concepts helps you stay ahead. If you found this interesting, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more insights into the economy and how it affects you. See you in the next one.